Hello everyone, GoldenNova here, and I am back from YCS Richmond, and boy howdy did I have a fantastic time. I'm not going to get too into detail about how my trip was, but I did want to say thank you all so much for everyone who showed up and said hi and reached out and wanted me to sign stuff and talked to me. You all told me some very heartwarming things, and it made the trip incredibly worth it. I can't thank all of you enough. I'll probably have a blog somewhere on a secondary channel at some point to talk about it more, because right now I want to talk about the main thing I did at the event. I did play Advanced, I played some fur hires, had a lot of fun with them, but fun does not win you tournaments. I need to do a lot more training if I'm going to be placing in events that high caliber. But scrubbing out early meant I got to play more Domain. If you saw the pictures that I took at the event, you know that we played a lot of that. We set up at tables, meeting people, talking about it, and while I didn't bring a whole host of decks like I would have wanted, I did bring one that tore up the tables that I was at, and that was Gladiator Beasts. You might not expect the deck that gets less battle phases per person to dominate, but there's some pretty spicy stuff going on here, and if you want to be the kind of person that dictates how the game flows, Gladiator Beast is the deck for you, and I'm going to show you how that happens as we go through my Glad Beast Domain deck profile. Now we're going to start things off with our deck master, Test Bear. There's a couple of really good options in here. Ironically, none of the Gladiator Beasts make for good deck masters because all of them boil down to if you connect with it, you can cycle out. But we want to be able to do stuff before we go into the battle phase, especially with all the extra opposition. Test Tiger is an alternate one. The advantages of Test Tiger are that you can throw your cards all over the table. No, the advantage of Test Tiger is that you can summon it out as many times per turn as you want. It does not have a once per turn clause like Test Bear does. So if you tribute it to shuffle back a Gladiator Beast, you get to put it back in your deck master zone, and then you can pay 500 life points to bring it out again to shuffle it for another effect. So if you're looking to get a single Glad Beast or multiple Gladiator Beast triggers in sequence, Test Tiger is the one for you, but that's going to rack up the life point cost very quickly. I like Test Bear because it gets you 2 Glad Beasts when it resolves, and you don't care where the Gladiator Beast is between your field or your hand, so that's actually really cool. Also, I'm not going to go into the specifics of what the cards do here. You can check out my Gladiator Beast Explained video for that, and then for the things that came out afterwards, I'll try to explain it a little bit, just to catch you all up to speed. Basically, if your opening hand has any Gladiator Beast in it, you can just normal summon this out of your deck master zone, tribute it, shuffle back the Glad Beast. This one does it as cost. That's another difference. Test Tiger shuffles back as part of its effect. You have to shuffle. You have to commit to the Glad Beast. So if your opponent has an Ash Blossom they can play in their domain, they do have a chance to stop this. But that's a lot rarer here, so we can get away with this more. This gets you 2 Glad Beasts, and that's going to be important for the opening combo, because getting Claudius out as soon as possible is going to be the anchor to our strategy. Let's go ahead and move these off to the side and go through our main deck. Now, I don't have a lot to say about a lot of the Gladiator Beasts here. These are essentially just a toolbox. I'm very happy to have them to play them, but they're kind of interchangeable insofar as I did not plan out how this top row is going to go. Each and every one of these names is just something that I want to draw in my opening hand to get Test Bear online. Past that point, we can summon them out to utilize their individual utility effects as needed. Maybe we need specific names to pull off specific fusions, and we can maybe lift these up to avoid the glare. Golly, I love filming. It's my favorite part of doing these live deck profiles. Let's go ahead and just squeeze these off. Basically, all these names that you've seen on here, none of them really matter in the grand scheme of things, especially or when you're starting things out. The ones that you're going to be making the most use of are a Torix and Noxious, largely because when they are brought out by the effect of a Gladiator Beast and or your test monsters, you're going to be sending another Glad Beast to the graveyard, and we are trying to reach 5 Glad Beasts in rotation. That's our critical mass point, so we want to be summoning these as as quickly as possible so we can dump more Glad Beasts into the graveyard. We're also happy to see Gladiator Beast Gistel. That's right, the Luke Von Karma special. This tutors out all of our Gladiator spell or trap cards so we can mold our hands to be exactly what we want, though most of the times we are getting Flavian to complete the Battle Control combo, which I will explain later on. We also have special interest in Samnite here. So Samnite was kind of a dud when Gladiator Beasts were first on, or when this first came out, largely because Samnite doesn't have an effect on summon. You would have to bring this out by a Glad Beast effect, and then run over something, and then you could get a search. This meant that you were either summoning it at the end of your battle phase, in which case a 1600 point body was sitting around waiting to tank your opponent's turn, or you were burning a Test Tiger to get this out, and then hopefully you were big enough to run over something. Not quite good in the past, but now, in combination with Claudius, we can actually utilize this a lot quicker than normal so that we can grab one of those powerful spells the deck has access to. So these are our top 4 performers as far as monsters go. We also have a couple of other guests here. We're playing Test Ape. This is where I show off that you might have seen from the Glad Beast lineup earlier, but this deck has a lot of for fun inclusions. Because it's Glad Beasts, we just kind of plug some cards in here. Sometimes maybe you want to normal summon Test Ape and crash it into something to get a Glad Beast. Sometimes you just want to set it for the defensive. This is in there's a flavor inclusion as well as Test Tiger, because even though it's not our deck master here, it is still a great card to play in the deck to help speed things along. Notably, Test Bear has an inherent summon effect where if you have a Glad Beast summoned from the deck or the extra deck, you can special summon it out. So if you have a Glad Beast in hand and Test Tiger, if you want to be really greedy, you can normal the Glad Beast, special Test Tiger, send this away, get your Glad Beast, trigger its effect, and now that you have a Glad Beast from deck, you can summon the Test Bear from your deck master zone, and then you can go ham in that regard. So while you can only have one deck master, the test monsters are 2 great tastes that go great together. Continuing our flavor inclusions, onto our spell cards, we have the Gladiator Beast equip spells. These can be useful in different scenarios. Gladius is obviously the least useful with its 300 point boost, but being a wall is pretty good, especially if you do force changes. Archfiend Shield provides a broader base of support, and sometimes Halberd just lets you pop a back row that's annoying the table. Some people play Floodgates in this format because it's it's far more effective to use Floodgates than it is to use 1-for-1 interaction, and you get to be a little hero at the table if you go out of your way to blast the back row with Halberd. We have the rest of our Gladiator spells. Proving Ground is one of the most important ones because it is just another Gladiator Beast name. Respite's cool because if we're in the mid to late game, we don't want Glad Beasts in our hand, we want gas, so this gets them back. Return is pretty cool because it recycles cards out of our graveyard, and recycling is great in Domain since it's a singleton format. Flavian is one of the coolest inclusions. This is like drawing Gladiator Proving Ground. It swaps a card in your hand for a Gladiator Beast. It summons a Glad Beast when a monster attacks, not necessarily when they attack you, so if your opponents are having a spat amongst each other, you can bring a Glad Beast into rotation to give yourself a defensive body and set up your field. And during the end phase, you get to set a Gladiator trap card from your deck if you summoned a Glad Beast from your deck. This is another important piece in the battle control combo. We're also playing the original Colosseum Cage of the Gladiator Beasts. Notably, this card gains a counter anytime anyone summons from the deck, and that is another prevalent thing in our 60-card singleton format. This can get an absurd amount of counters fairly quickly, and can turn your Gladiator Beasts into whirling death blades. I've had some of my funnest games having this sit on the field and turn things like Bestiari into legitimate combat threats. Gladiator Beast United is one of the best search targets we can get off of Samnite. We can hit someone with it, get a search, grab United, and then do an immediate fusion summon, because you can only do this during the battle phase, so you can make the most out of it. Gladiator Beast Comeback is a monster reborn, so it's more materials. Rejection is extension and protection to stop targeting. Indomitable Gladiator Beast is more attack power. This one is just kind of another flavor inclusion. This one doesn't come up super often, but I like having it. Gladiator Taming does have some very interesting applications sometimes. Well, we're not, if somehow we run into the mirror match, we can steal, but it's also a position changing card, and that comes up more often than you might think. Get ready to punish opponents who have made their monsters indestructible by battle. Moving on to our utility spells, we're playing Pot of Greed, because of course we're playing Pot of Greed. Our back row removals in Heavy Storm and Harpy's Feather Duster. I should also be playing Dark Hole and Raigeki here to clear the field for our Glad Beasts, but I couldn't find any spare copies while I was building the deck, so we're just dealing with those. Foolish Burial helps fill our graveyard for a certain summon we'll be talking about later. Terraforming for the field spells. Unexpected Die might be an Andal. Tenki helps get our Beast Warrior ones in hand. Change of Heart and Mind Control are good for stealing monsters to clear the way for attacks, and also our Link monsters don't need all Gladiator Beasts, so these help to deploy those. Monster Reborn gets us bodies. Forbidden Lance and Book of Moon help us win or win battles, and Saber Slash Draw is another recursion card. This is a domain staple as well. If your opponent set up a big board, you can mill a bunch of cards. Once again, that helps us because we want as many Glad Beasts in the graveyard, and then recur a number of other cards once you do the shuffle back. So powerful non-archetypal spell and trap cards. We get another hit off of that, and then it draws us a card as well. It's still a -1 because you have to discard, but it still digs you deeper into your deck on top of everything else. So say Slash Draw is one of my favorite cards to resolve in this format. If you are looking for recursion in your domain deck, I would highly recommend it. Moving on to the trap cards, we are of course playing the Gladiator Beast War Chariot, the one, the only, the Monster Negator, the one that put them on the map. But because we are going for full flavor, we are also playing the other, maybe not so well-known Gladiator counter trap cards, Parry and Disarm, which negates a trap and a spell card respectively by shuffling a Glad Beast from your hand into your deck. These are terrible. They're not Gladiator cards, so you can't search them with Flavian, and they have a huge cost associated with them, but sometimes it comes up, so you will get a lot of laughs at the table if you can pull this off. Double Tag Team is there to get you more monsters whenever you are already doing more summons from your deck. Gladiator Lash can be there to discard a card from your opponent's hand. It's their choice, unfortunately, so they pick the best. But if you have an opponent who's gone all out and they only have one card in hand, you can at least lower that. Trojan Gladiator Beast is very funny in a multiplayer format. You give someone a Glad Beast and you draw a card. This is another -1, but maybe an opponent needs a monster to run over by battle. Either to trigger an effect or to get in damage on a player to get them out of the game. This is another politicking tool, which is very specific for us. This is bad, but bad in a way that's very fun in this format. We're playing defensive tactics here because Waboku is very good and it recycles itself. Gladiator Beast, now actually we're going to save Naumachia for the end. Gladiator Beast Charge is removal. For each Glad Beast we control, we can pop a face-up card. This is whenever you need to go serious mode, this is a very good trap card to get out. And Gladiator Naumachia, this is one of my favorites. So it's got 3 effects on here, but the most important one is that while you control a Glad Beast, monsters your opponents control must attack if able. So in a game where there's 3 opponents, there's a lot of battling that's going to happen. Now we're not quite to the end of our battle control combo, but this is the penultimate. It also has a second effect where you can shuffle a Glad Beast from your graveyard into your deck to boost a Glad Beast's attack by its own defense. That's pretty good. And lastly, if it's destroyed by your opponent, you just get to activate an effect that keeps all of your monsters safe by battle for the turn. So it's kind of another Waboku. We only have a couple of off-theme trap cards. Sales Pitch searches us a card out of our deck if our opponent searches a card out of the deck. We can't activate it that turn, but it's a good consistency booster because a lot of people play those themselves in this format because, once again, it's singleton, so this just lets us piggyback off of that. And in terms of recursion, Pot of Avarice is really good here. It targets any 5 cards in your graveyard and shuffles them back, so it's kind of like Slash Draw as well. Pot of Avarice is also often played in domain decks to recur monsters, but because we're going to be doing that automatically with our extra deck, we don't run that. In fact, I think Pot of Avarice is kind of a non-bone in this deck. Now, let's go on to the extra deck, and we will start with the big kahuna, Gladiator Beast, Claudius. This is the card that makes the deck fun to play in this format. So it is a contact fuse. It takes 5 Glad Beasts, but the catch is that you can use Glad Beasts from your graveyard as well as your field. So if you fill up your graveyard with 5 monsters, you can hit this on the board and activate its effect. The next time you go to a battle phase, you get to conduct it twice. That means twice the amount of tag outs. That's double the attacks, double the damage. This is so fun to resolve and watch people scramble to keep you in check once this is live. It's also notable that it's your next battle phase, not the battle phase of that turn. So if you want to play Arch Enemy, you can definitely do a turn, one of the first turn rotations if you can't attack. You can just ping this on the board and be all like, next time we go to my turn, I'll have battle phases. I'm going to do it twice. Get ready for that. And if that was all, this would be great to play, but it also has an additional effect which is very funny. If your opponent activates a monster effect, you get to summon a Glad Beast. But if you do it during, if they do it during your own turn, you can summon any Glad Beast from your main deck. But if they activate an effect during their own turn, you can summon a Glad Beast from your extra deck whose level is 11 or lower. So none of the links, but all of the other Glad Beasts are fair game. So you can get out some of the most powerful creatures ever printed if your opponent decides that they can't keep their hands off of monster effects. Claudius is great. It inherently recycles your Gladiator Beasts. And as long as you can return it to the extra deck after it dies, think Equeste, then your shuffles are live again to bring it out again. There was at least one time during this weekend where someone thought they had gotten me out of the game because they put Claudius in the graveyard. And then I was like, no, I think I will recycle him and then bring him out in the same turn. It was fantastic. This card is super good, and it's not even the entirety of what makes it fun. That is Domitianus' fault. Don't laugh. Don't laugh. It's a legitimate name. So Domitianus is a War Chariot on legs. He's a free monster, negate, and destruction every turn, but he also dictates the attack targets of your opponent's monsters. And now those of you who've been paying attention are starting to put the pieces together. If you get Naumachia onto the field in any way, maybe you hard draw it, maybe you search it, maybe you put it on the field with Flavian, and you hit Claudius on the board, pass to your opponents, and the second one of them activates a monster effect, once that chain closes, you summon Domitianus, and now you flip the Naumachia once combat phases are live. Now, you are playing during your opponent's battle phases, because they must attack, and you choose how they attack. They can hit people with open boards. You can make them hit problem monsters. You can have them crash into bigger monsters to clear their board. It's so funny to watch this interaction play out live. It's incredible. There's nothing like it. It is so fun. We have the rest of our extra deck lineup. Heraclinos is the spell and trap negation. Neurokius is surprisingly very fun this format. It is a Armades when it attacks or is attacked, which can come up. It can be destroyed by battle, and it tags out into 2. Normally, this is very bad if you're hard contact fusing for this, because it takes 3. But with Claudius, you bring it out for free, this tags into 2. Editor is also here. Editor will summon more Gladiator Beast. This is not really a good one to summon off of Claudius, though, because you're doing it during your opponent's turn. So you'll want to hard make this during your own turn if you want to utilize its effect. Technically, this can summon Claudius, but Claudius only gets you the double battle phases if it's summoned by its own condition. So keep that in mind. There's Ondabata here. There's Gaio Diaz. I am supposed to have Hoplimus and Spartacus in the deck as well, and another couple things that I couldn't find, but because of Claudius, you can still play Gaio Diaz if you want to burn your opponent for their defense value. There's, of course, the big chicken that blows stuff up. We love big chicken. We have Esadari, the little monkey, in case we need some kind of contact stuff. And then we have our Link monsters. Gladiator Beast Darius is here to summon a Glad Beast from our graveyard or hand, or our deck if our opponent controls a monster, so this is really good as long as we're not going first. Notably, an important thing about the Link Gladiator Beast monsters is that we can send them to the graveyard to make them, and that means their names still count towards making Claudius. We can't say the same thing for other, like our contact fusions, because those go back into the deck. So the link monsters allow us to gain field presence and names because we can use material that go to the extra deck. So these are going to be very valuable. You get 2 monsters. Like, let's talk about the Test Bear. We go Atorix and Nauseous. They send 2. We link those 2 off for Darios. That's 5 right there. 4 Glad Beasts from the main deck and 1 Darios. We get an extra bonus if we're able to summon a Gladiator Beast from our deck. So it's super easy to get out Claudius. It is, as long as you can resolve Test Bear once, you are in the clear. Then there is Dragaces. This is a link 2 that makes all of our Glad Beasts Armades and keep them from being destroyed by battle. And it tags out into 2. Test Panther is one that I actually didn't make all weekend, but there are edge cases for it. You link into it, you get a Gladiator card, and then, or I think it's a Gladiator Beast card. Yeah, Gladiator Beast card from your deck, and then it can tag a monster, a Glad Beast, out for a summon. So this is kind of a backup here, another link monster. Then we have Donner here. This is just a scrap dragon that is in our domain. It's also notable that it uses different types, which is fun because Glad Beasts have a ton of different types in them, so we can make this fairly easily. We also have Tri-Brigade Rugal, the Silver Sheller, if we just need a way to punish our opponent. We have like all the tri-types in here, so we can do a bit of a debuff. And we can get some recovery off of it, but it is expensive as a link 3. And this last one was supposed to be a Farragut, but once again couldn't find it. But that's kind of the core extra deck here. There were several fun times that I had with this deck. Knocking a bunch of players out of the game at once during the same 2 battle phases that you have. Getting to utilize our opponent's monsters against each other by springing Naumachia at the right moment. We had a game. It was me, Michael, Deck Devil, and or Bakura, and Snow. If any of you are watching, hello, thank you for the games. Where there's like this backgammon looking monster, like Monochrome Roid or something, that was able to be that Snow was able to summon because we ran over a Ausa Link monster, and they were able to search that, and because we had so many attacks over the course of the 2 battle phases, they were able to stop my OTK on them, because the monster had gotten so big from all of my own attacks. That was probably the wackiest moment we had all weekend. At least the wackiest one that I participated in. Yeah, it was fantastic. This deck is bonkers. And as you can see, there is lots of room for improvement. We are playing a lot of cards in here for the flavor, but even when we are playing with for funny cards, we are still running things because of how easy it is to deploy our true Deckmaster Claudius using Test Bear as our big guy. Remember that this is hard once per turn on here, so if you get stopped, you're kind of halted, but once this engine gets going, it is very difficult to stop even with 3 opponents. And you're doing it with like big boss monsters. There are negates, that's the way that Gladiator Beasts run their boss monsters. But there's also interaction in here. There's a little bit of politicking. There's ways to run your opponent's turns. I feel like Gladiator Beasts have a little bit of everything for this format, and I highly recommend playing them if you want something that's a little bit of a higher power level in this format. Folks, thank you all so much for watching, and once again, thank you to everyone who met me and came to talk to me at YCS Richmond. It was so fantastic. It means the world to me to have had that experience and see firsthand the people who have watched things and have enjoyed them and who have been affected by it. It means a lot, and I hope that you will continue to watch all the wacky stuff that I do, whether it be domain or lore or whatever I get into. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see all of you next time. Bye-bye. Today's episode is brought to you by Dragon Shield. Get the sleeves as strong as dragon scales and save 5% on your order by using the coupon code GoldenNova at checkout while helping out the channel. It was also brought to you by my lovely patrons, including this month's illustrious Quasar Commanders, Upstairs Media, and the Critic of Innocence, Nebula Navigators, 3rd Dynasty, Ada Basilisk, Adam Zajdel, Ancient Wizard, Andrew Newman, Battle Axe, Beasts Man, Charlie Mercury, Chibi Gohan, Christopher Fuss, Clockswork, Comrade, Eric, Frankie, Green Knight, Great Big Pillock, Groog, Hair Bear, Harry the Ominous Benefactor, Iron Zero, Iskander 711, Carp, Marion James C. Picata, Meme King, Muse Clark, Neon Yami Nair, Orozco 09096, Panther J, Pat Boos, Rebel King Lucifer, Red Eyes Jackalow, Red Tail, RJ the Jank Monarch, Sonic 21 Blast, That One Dumbass and the Wizard Moose, Cosmic Crusaders Anthrak, A Random Pup, Blaze Rider, Blitzwolf, Brandon Guzman, Chaz Ghost, Christopher Fuss, again, Cool Trainer Dark, Dr. Entity, RIP, Eki Bullock, Edelweiss EN, Eva Padilla, Herbal D, Inblink, J.A. Flair, Julian Marquez, Kale the Dragon, Kryptonian Blurred, Lobomaru02, Manga Pages, Millennia Asta, Mr. Machina, Natiel Lee Alexander, Nicholas Murphy, Not Al Gore, Obsidian, Rhyme Kairos, Rogue Wolf, Seraph SG, Shizuki Nijimura, Stephen Huntsman, The Legendary Raven, The Queen of Time, Tiger X2476, Tristan O'Meara, Zaldreka, Zephrath the Rock Thing, and Zentha, as well as all the lovely Starlight Explorers you see on screen now. If you'd like to help me in my journey to cover all of Yu-Gi-Oh's archetypes, get my videos early, be a part of these credits and other awesome perks, it would mean the world to me if you would check out the link to my Patreon in the description or consider joining as a YouTube member.